Chiefs and the Cardinals are the only teams on bye in Week 12, but the injury report pretty long this week. So let's talk some waiver wire pickups with SI fantasy analyst Michael Fabiano. And Fabs, listen, I know it's Week 12. We're getting toward the end of that regular season for fantasy. We're getting toward that playoff push. Let's help some people with their lineups this week by going after some quarterbacks that can help them win their matchups. What do you got?
And let's start off with Cam Newton. I mean, we had him on this list last week. He's still available in about 48% of leagues on Yahoo. He has 5 touchdowns in his first 2 games back with the Panthers. And remember, one of those games, he wasn't even the starter. He's got the Dolphins this week. It's a great matchup, so Cam Newton should be added across the board. And let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, who is available in about 67% of leagues. In the last 4 weeks, only Justin Herbert has more fantasy points than Jimmy Garoppolo. That's kind of crazy, right? And he's got a good matchup this week against the Vikings. They've allowed the 7th most points per game to quarterbacks. So Jimmy G is in our good graces. Mac Jones, Tyrod Taylor, also worth a look in deeper leagues.
All right, some news around running backs. Michael Carter is going to be out a few weeks for the New York Jets, and the Texans cut Phillip Lindsay. So I know you're eyeing up that Jets backfield and also Rex Burkhead down in Houston.
And they're playing each other in what figures to be the worst game of the entire season, right? I mean, Jets-Texans, it's going to be horrible. But Tevin Coleman is available in almost all leagues, and he will be the starter for the Jets. And I think this will be a neutral game script. I actually think these two teams will probably be pretty competitive against one another, which is good for Coleman. But Ty Johnson is also a look off the wire as well, as more of the guy who's going to be valuable in PPR leagues. If you think the Texans maybe are going to get a lead in this game, and I mean, when did the Texans ever have a lead? But they're playing the Jets, so who knows? Both players are worth a look off the wire. And then for the Texans, you mentioned Phillip Lindsay's been released, which means, is it Rex Burkhead potentially or David Johnson? Maybe it's going to be a little bit of both. So last week, David Johnson was the leader in the backfield in terms of snaps, but Burkhead was second, and he was a close second. Burkhead actually had more touches in the game as well. This is a common opponent as well because Burkhead played for so many years with the Patriots, so he knows the Jets well. So while David Johnson might be the better fantasy option, Burkhead is the better option off the waiver wire because DJ is still owned in most leagues. So yeah, Rex Burkhead suddenly has fantasy value. This is where we're at, folks.
2021, I never thought I'd hear Rex Burkhead has fantasy value. Nonetheless, let's move over to wide receiver Elijah Moore, the rookie for Gang Green. He's been coming on really strong. And then we know Amari Cooper is not in action in Week 12. CeeDee Lamb might not be either. So you're eyeing up Cedrick Wilson.
Yeah, Elijah Moore's been great, and he's still 42% available, which to me is bananas. 27 plus points in 2 of his last 3 games, had nearly 30 last week. The snaps are going up as well. I think he's established himself as the clear guy there for the Jets, alongside Corey Davis and Jamison Crowder as their top 3 wide receivers. No team in the league has given up more fantasy points to receivers lined out wide than the Houston Texans. And guess who more plays this week? That's right, Bill, the Houston Texans. So not only should you pick him up, you should start him. And then talking about Cedrick Wilson, well, the Cowboys, as you mentioned, no Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb is a question mark at best. Last week, Wilson played 42 snaps and saw 7 targets, and that was second to Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup is a virtual must-start if both of the Cowboys' top 2 wide receivers are down this week, and Wilson is worth a look in deeper leagues and maybe a startable asset if you're in need at the position.
All right, let's talk some tight ends. Washington football tight end Logan Thomas back after more than a month of missing action. And then also, the Jaguars, they're looking for playmakers in that passing game. Jamal Agnew is now on injured reserve, so you like Dan Arnold.
Right, and Logan Thomas is a guy who's still available in about 48% of leagues on Yahoo, and a big part of the reason is, of course, well, he hasn't played for a while. But the reports are that he'll return to practice this week, which means he's got a good shot to play on Monday night against the Seahawks. If that is the case, it's a good matchup for Thomas. The Seahawks have allowed the 10th most points per game to tight ends. Speaking of Dan Arnold, you and I, Bill, scored as many fantasy points as Arnold last week. He put up a goose egg. It was a disappointment. Totally get it. But he's still out there in about 60% of leagues. And in the previous 3 games, he tied Travis Kelce for the league among tight ends in targets. So forget about what happened last week. Forgive and forget. The Jaguars also just lost Jamal Agnew for the season. So Arnold should be added and started where needed during this Thanksgiving weekend slate of games.
For more fantasy football analysis to help you win your Week 12 matchups and beyond, go to si.com/fantasy. And for more great videos, including our Stardom Situm and all the video content from Sports Illustrated, make sure you hit that subscribe button on Sports Illustrated's YouTube channel.